All right, we are live. You wait a few minutes, I will let a few people trickle in, and then we can start having some fun. I'm going to talk a little bit more about record keeping, and then we're going to talk about unschooling. Lacey T21, thank you for joining. I just started up, so I'm just going to wait a little bit, let a few people trickle in, and then we're going to talk about record keeping, college, unschooling, and creating an entrepreneurial mindset within our children and how to use their skills to give them experience in the real world. Tiki, thank you for joining. We are getting started in just a minute. I just want to let a few people trickle in, and then we are going to have some fun. I actually wanted to respond to a few of the trolls on the video I posted today about creating a transcript and keeping your child's homeschool record so that you can do things like put them back into public school if you have to, or of course, you can use that transcript to assist them in applying for college. So the video I released this morning basically gets into the importance of why you want to create a transcript. And let me give you a few base examples. Let's just say that you have a child who is in 6th grade, you withdraw him from public school and decide to homeschool. Well, 2 years later, life changes, people's values change, people's schedules change, circumstances change. 2 years later, you decide you're going to put that child back into public school. So you go to your public school in your local district and say, all right, well, little Johnny, I'm going to put him into 8th grade now. And the public school says, well, what has little Johnny been doing for the last 2 years? Well, if you can't provide documentation that he's been following state regulations and that he's been actually doing academic things, then how can you make the claim to the school that little Johnny should be in 8th grade? They'll say, well, our records show this child is actually in 6th grade. So with that one example alone, you can see why I talk to new homeschool parents so much about the importance of record keeping. And we'll get into it as it relates to college as well. So when you withdraw your child from public school, the first thing you want to do is go to HSLDA, the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. Go to their homepage, you scroll down a little bit, and it says something like state regulations or laws by states. By the way, I am not a lawyer. This is in no way legal advice. But you go to the Homeschool Legal Defense Association and you want to click on your state and familiarize yourself. My mom passed equal rights and freedom to homeschool in the state of Oregon in 1990s. Well, it sounds like your mother is a pioneer and a legend. So if you were living in Oregon, for example, you'd want to go to Homeschool Legal Defense Association, click on Oregon, and familiarize yourself with your responsibility as a parent record keeper. So if you do want to put your child back into public school later on, no one can make a claim that your child's not in whatever grade you say they're in. And when your child is going to apply to college, if they do, we'll get into that because this is a talk on unschooling. But first I wanted to address the trolls. You will have a proper transcript so that your child can apply to college and get into college. So when you click on your state, you'll see that every state has different regulations. So in some states, you have to have a GED or be a high school graduate in order to homeschool your child. You want to be aware of that. In some states, in North Carolina, where I am, it's only mandated children are educated between the ages of 7 and 16 years old. In other states, maybe it's 6 and 16. So you need to know what the age range is so you know what documentation, what forms you have to file with your local school district. In some states, children are required to take standardized testing every year. In some states, it's every 3 years. In some states, children aren't required to take standardized testing. But if you're not aware of that and you don't have your child take a standardized test or file for an exemption from the test, right? Well, then when you go to put your child back into public school later on, or you try to get them into college, Well, now you have a problem because you didn't follow the regulations, and it's going to be a disservice to your child. So when you first pull your child out of public school, it's very, very important that you go through this process and familiarize yourself with your responsibility as a parent record keeper. Once you do that, you look into organizing your records. And some people do that with binders. Some people do it themselves. Other people use services, which are available, usually at a monthly subscription. Some of them are even free, which you just enter the courses that your child has taken. It's all BS, and it's none of their business what I do with my child. Well, anyone who follows me knows that I couldn't agree with that more, and that's why I wanted to address the trolls. But on the same hand, it's always smart to dot your I's and cross your T's, because God forbid something does happen where a police officer knocks on your door and says, have you been schooling these children, right? We have laws in this state. They can't make a claim against you because you have the proper documentation. And like it or not, and again, I homeschool my child, I homestead, I sold my house to get out of debt. I am very big into personal responsibility and attempting to live free outside of the government. But with that being said, we all are subject to the laws of the United States of America in one way or another. And if you don't dot your I's, you don't cross your T's, you could put yourself, and even worse, you can put your children in a bad situation. So that's why I talk about record keeping, and that's why with new homeschool parents, it's very important to spread this information so that they're aware of what their responsibility is, they know why they have to keep records, and they're comfortable with doing so. So here in Canada, the government got no say. I mean, I don't know with you Canadians, with what's going on with all your shutdowns. I think you guys need the Second Amendment. I think your children need to read the right to bear arms. But once you familiarize yourself with your role as a parent record keeper, there are services available that assist with the record keeping process. I have a few of them listed on my app. I'll just go through it right now. I'll name them off, so if you want to check out their websites, and I'm not affiliated with them, you can do that. But for example, Homeschool SchedTrack is a free online record-keeping service that assists parents with keeping records so that you don't have a problem if a government official knocks on your door. You don't have a problem if you want to put your child back into public school. And you don't have a problem if your child decides to apply for college. And we will get into that because, as I said earlier, I'm the biggest proponent of children not going to college. But I also acknowledge that if you don't properly document their education and they decide they want to go to college for something that is worthy, maybe not, instead of going to college for like women's studies or gender studies, they want to be an engineer, something that's actually, economically worth it. Well, you're doing them a disservice if you don't keep records, because then they can't do that. So we as parents, we want to give our children as many options as possible. And these records are so important because it's the transcript that colleges look at, right? It's the transcript they look at when they decide if your child is going to get in or not. So a lot of people ask about the diploma. Will my homeschool child have a diploma? Well, the answer is yes and no. The state, like the state of New York, the state of California, the state of Oregon, or Texas, or whatever state you might live in, does not issue a diploma to a homeschool student. However, the parent can issue a parent-issued homeschooling high school diploma. And colleges do view that as valid. But that's not what colleges look at when your child applies. Let me give you an example. Take your average 11th grader, right? 11th, 12th grader, and they're applying to go to college. They're not sending Texas University, they're not sending Harvard, they're not sending whatever school they're trying to get into their diploma, because they don't have a diploma yet. What they're sending is a transcript. And that is what colleges need from your homeschool students. So you need to have that little Matthew took algebra, little Matthew took calculus, as I fail to articulate the word, took calculus. Little Matthew took American history, right? So you want to be able to document what he took, and you want to know the proper way to do it. And that's why you have to familiarize yourself with this. Let me give you an example. Let's say your child, Johnny learns about American history through, my daughter is homeschooled, attending UF as a dual enrollment student. That's amazing. Johnny took American history through a book, a textbook, by the Good and the Beautiful Homeschool curriculum, right? Well, when you put that on the transcript, you don't write the name of that textbook. You put U.S. American history. And then you could put notations on the bottom as to what curriculum you used. So you have to know how to properly document this stuff. And that's why free resources like Homeschool SchedTrack or paid-for resources like Transcript Pro, My School Year, AppleCore Record Keeping, assist parents in keeping these records. Again, I'm not affiliated with them. If I'm trying to sell you anything, it's joining my private homeschool community in which I lay out all this information very neatly so you can find everything you need. And I'll never apologize for selling my stuff because I make it and I believe in it, just like my books. So you want to keep proper records, and you want to have a transcript, and when your child graduates, you'll issue them. By the way, if you have anything you want to ask me, I'm very interactive with the crowd. Transcripts website you mentioned, yeah, that's Homeschool SchedTrack, free transcript service, AppleCore Record Keeping, My School Year, Transcript Pro. I'm reading these right off of my private homeschool group. It makes finding pretty much anything you need very easy. So once you familiarize yourself with your responsibility as a record keeper and how to actually keep records, right? The next thing you want to consider is what else colleges are looking for, right? Now, one of the questions I get a lot is, what is the difference between accredited homeschool curriculums and curriculums that are not accredited, right? Because a lot of parents are concerned, well, if the curriculum isn't accredited, how will my child get into college? Well, the first thing I would tell you is children get into college that didn't use accredited curriculums all the time. In fact, most homeschool curriculums aren't accredited, because what that means, an accredited curriculum, is that a company selling a curriculum has a physical location, but they also sell the curriculum, and that official state or federal accreditors stopped by that physical location, reviewed the curriculum, and said, okay, now this is accredited. But in terms of applying to college, every college is different. So yes, there are some colleges that specifically, we look up course codes for our state and use those on the transcript. Right, so that's the type of stuff you want to be aware of. But there are colleges that specifically do want accredited curriculum, but most of them will just take, will just accept your transcript or your portfolio as long as it's well kept and you could document that your child actually did learning, right? So every college is different. Some colleges do want maybe like 16 accredited courses, credits. But overall, if you keep a good transcript, most colleges should accept your child if they got good grades. But the other things that they're looking for, and this is very important, are extracurriculars. So you want your homeschool student to be involved in as many extracurricular activities as humanly possible. So if they're interested in sports, get them involved in sports. If they're interested in theater, get them involved in theater. Spend time at your local church. Be part of the community. Do volunteer work at soup kitchens. Because if you do that, then your child, and this is what colleges really love to see, will have 3 solid references outside of the home willing to write 1 paragraph or page to a college saying, I recommend you accept this child. Now, another extracurricular that the colleges love, and this is where I get into unschooling, and this is why I tell parents that my objective, actually, I don't care if my children go to college. In fact, I would prefer if they don't. But when I introduce families to homeschooling, I want to make sure they're properly armed with the information and the knowledge so that when their child is 18 years old, 17 years old, homeschool children, some of them graduate at 15 years old, they're very impressive. When they are of age, they have the option to go to college, because why would you ever take that away from your child? I wouldn't want my son to look at me at 17 years old and say, hey, Dad, I was thinking about going to this college to become an engineer. And I say, oh, I didn't bother to keep records, right? Why would I limit his options? With that being said, I actually hope he doesn't go to college. I hope my son will be an entrepreneur. And that's what I assist families to teach their children every day through the philosophy of unschooling. So one of the things the colleges love to see is children that have an entrepreneurial mindset, entrepreneurial experience, and have started their own business. And let me give you a few examples of what unschooling looks like and some of the families that I've done direct consultations with. For anyone who doesn't know, 2 years before I launched Homeschools Connected, my private homeschooling platform, I had been doing one-on-one. We use Florida unschoolers and love them. Very cool. I had been doing one-on-one homeschool consultations with families all over the country, all over the world, in which I would set up people's homeschools. And I wouldn't just set up their homeschools, but I would teach them my philosophy. And here are just a few examples of some of the amazing things that people have been able to do. So one family I worked with had an 8-year-old boy who was very interested in cars, and his dad actually had experience as a mechanic. So they were doing a lot of formal educational stuff, and I suggested they keep doing that. But with unschooling, you follow the interest of your child. So what we did was we set out an objective that he would teach his 8-year-old how to change oil in the car. So that didn't take long. The 8-year-old was very excited to change the oil, learned how to do it. But this is where the unschooling comes in, and this is where we create an entrepreneurial mindset. So what we did was we had that 8-year-old, and the father helped him, but he did his own marketing. Created flyers that he would change oil at X price, and he put them in his neighbors' mailboxes. And sure enough, a few months go by, and people actually hired him to work as a mechanic, so to speak, and to do their oil changes. And this 8-year-old got real-world experience changing oil, working as a mechanic, running his own business, doing marketing, doing sales, and doing the accounting. And from that point, right, once he learned to do that, we talked about teaching investing, right? Because one of the things public school doesn't teach is financial literacy. You see how beautiful unschooling is? He got this. He has a real-world skill. He could change oil. He has marketing experience, sales experience, accounting experience, and now he's getting experience investing with financial literacy. So some of the suggestions I give to parents is once their children start making money, you want to show them, you want to give them a basic financial education and show them what they can do in terms of investing. So one of the things we start young children with is just bi-weekly games of Monopoly with the objective of teaching children the difference between assets and liabilities, right? And then once they master that, we move them on to Cash Flow for Children, which is a board game by Robert Kiyosaki designed to teach children to read financial statements and to teach children financial literacy. There are then books for children, Finance 101 for kids, Investor Ninja, another book I really like, all designed to introduce young children to financial literacy. And then, of course, as they get older, they could read books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, and you just continue their financial education all the way up through the time they graduate, all while they're getting real-world business experience and they're developing an entrepreneurial mindset. And then when they're 17, 18 years old and all of their friends have one option, which is to take on debt and go to college, they probably already have a business, they have a business mindset, they have things they want to do, and if they want to go to college, they can do that because you as a responsible parent kept good records, but they probably won't even want to do that because they'll see the opportunity to pursue their dreams right away, right? Like that public school model of, oh, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? No, what do you want to be right now? Start pursuing it. And that's the difference between homeschool and public school. And that's what unschooling empowers families to do. So it really comes down to following the interest of your children. Let me give you another example. I did a parent consultation for someone in my homeschool group, Homeschools Connected, earlier this week, and they have a 4-year-old child who is already showing interest in photography. So what we did, and I'm going to scroll down here and I'll show you, let you guys see this so you can see how it all works. So I go in my private homeschool group and I scroll down, cooking, homeopathy, music, photography, and then I go to business paths, elementary and younger, right? And then what you find is there's the Layers of Learning program. There is the Photography for Kids program. There are digitalphotographyforkids.com. And all of these resources are designed to teach children, young children, right away how to be photographers, right? And the beautiful thing about following your child's interest, because right now that's a skill that your child has. Just like when the previous child learned to change oil, that was a skill that that child had. And once your child has skills, right, then you can start to teach them, you can get them business experience and teach them an entrepreneurial mindset. And that's why I always tell parents, early childhood education should focus on skills over subject matter. Not that subjects don't matter, but skills through the philosophy of unschooling allow you to teach your children lessons that they otherwise would not be able to learn, and you can really empower them throughout their life. The other thing we focus on in early childhood education is the process of learning itself over memorization. So in public school, they sit the children down and they say, I want you to memorize X, Y, and Z. This historical figure did this on this date, right? And then they take a standardized test, they repeat that and say, oh, well, now you know something. Well, no, you know how to memorize information. You don't know if it's true or not. We focus on the process of learning, doing research, thinking critically, and allowing children to form their unique understanding of how the world really works. And this is how we create critical thinkers. To form their unique understanding of how the world really works. And this is how we create critical thinkers. That child who just learned photography, that 4-year-old, right? As he starts to get older, right? And again, and this is the type of stuff I preach. And so if you look into what I have here on my Discord, my Homeschools Connected, I go to photography, business paths, right? And then we always discuss different business paths, right? Different business paths that your child can take with photography, right? How to become a portrait photographer, how to become a real estate photographer. That might be for when he's a little older. How to become a photographer that takes pictures of newborn babies, right? Apps and websites that pay commissions for your photos. Websites that allow photographers to upload stock photos for commission. Upwork, Fiverr, right? So we use the skills that our children have that they develop through following their interest to get them real-world business experience. So right now that child's 4, but if he takes to photography, he can be very good at it by the time he's 8, 9 years old, and then his parents can really start showing him how to do some basic business stuff. In fact, if he gets good enough at it by 5 or 6, I wouldn't be shy to let him do some basic marketing stuff so that maybe he can get some gigs with family members and friends of the family doing photography where they actually pay him. Can you please repeat the website name? Yes, my private homeschool community is Homeschools Connected. If you look at the link in my profile, you'll see the ability to join that. And if you use the promotion code CONNECT, CONNECT, you get $5 off a month for life. And I never raise the price, which for anyone who knows me, that's a really good thing for anyone that joins, because right now my community is pretty good. But with what I plan on doing over the next 5 or 6 years with it, right, I plan on really making it so that I eventually want to get to where at that $10 a month that people can completely educate their child. But of course, to do that for new members in the future, right, that could be $15 a month, $20 a month, $25 a month. Whereas if you join now, I will never raise the price. And not to mention, people who join my private homeschool community, they get access to me, and I am constantly inboxing with the members of my community. They're running ideas by me. I'm telling them what I would do. So I don't know why anyone wouldn't want me in their corner in terms of educating their children, but hey, to each their own. So we use the skills that our children develop and through following their interests, and we use that to embed real world experience to develop critical thinkers with an entrepreneurial mindset, an abundance attitude, who see opportunities everywhere around them. Because if you take that child, that 8-year-old who started a business changing oil, or that 4-year-old, 5, 6-year-old who got his first business experience taking photographs at, I don't know, a family member's birthday party, they have the mindset to see opportunities, and what are they going to do when they're 17, 18 years old? And that is what unschooling is all about, and that is the power of unschooling. Now, with that being said, I don't solely unschool my child. I actually do a mixture of Charlotte Mason, Montessori, unschooling, and as he gets a little bit bigger, I'll start to work in the classical trivium of grammar, logic, and rhetoric. So people that fully unschool 100% of the time, they will literally have their children not learn math at all if they're not interested in learning about it. I follow my child's interests, but I do believe in some degree of compulsion, and that's just my private philosophy. It's not that they're wrong to unschool 100%. I just like people to understand the distinction. So many parents are going to homeschool now. Well, that's the beautiful thing, and a lot of people see what's happened in the last year since March of 2020, all right? I have to speak in hobo code, so you don't want to get, catch the eye of Sauron. But people look at what's happened since March of 2020, and they see so many people are in a state of despair. But everything that has happened is a blessing from God, because it has shown people what the system really is. And once you see what the system really is, you understand you have to live outside of it. And I was a teacher. I quit. I couldn't do that anymore. Well, email me, because I might have some opportunities for you. classicallearnertoday@gmail.com. It's not right away, but I've actually been in the works with a colleague of mine. We've been working on putting something together to empower all of these teachers who have to quit school because they won't take forced medical procedures, right? Because these teachers are looking for opportunities, and there's so many parents out there who would love to have their services, these teachers with good values. So definitely shoot me that email, and once I get this up and running, it's something that, it might be 6 months from now, but I definitely think my colleague and I could offer you a good opportunity. But yeah, the last year, it has been such a blessing. I can't tell you how many parents see what the public school system really is. A system that prioritizes memorization over critical thinking, that uses social shame to prevent children from questioning official government dogma and narratives, to the point where children grow up, they're 18, 19 years old, and they wouldn't dare question it. And that's why when they go to college and they graduate. 80% of college graduates have this uniform, robotic, non-player character mindset. I'm a single mom and I hate having my kids in school. Yeah, well, I mean, it's not easy being a single mother, and you have to earn a living, right? Because you have to put food on the table, but you don't want to send your children to school, so you have to balance that. So my question would be is, do you have family members that could assist in the schooling process, even if it's one set of grandparents take the child one day, another set of grandparents take the child another, an aunt takes them another. Have you looked into local homeschool co-ops, right? Are there people in your area that you can do a rotation with? And here's what I mean. I will educate your children on Tuesday and Wednesday when I don't work if you agree to do the schooling for my child on Thursday and Friday. And then you get like 5 families involved, and it's actually not that much. It's something you could really put together well. So you just have to think creative, think outside the box. There's always a way to do it, and I always tell people this, and they think I'm kidding, but I would literally allow a drunk monkey to educate my child before I put them into public school. That's really smart. Thank you. Hey, I'm pregnant with my first child. I'm so stressed out with the thought of school. First of all, congratulations, because people want to talk about political solutions, how we win the future. Let me tell you how we win the future. We put family first again. We put community first again. We marry young. We reject hookup culture. We embrace our spouse. We treat them with respect and love. We have lots of children. We homeschool those children. So that they don't get indoctrinated. They know how to think freely and critically and entrepreneurially. We start our own businesses. We hire our friends. We have in-group preference and do business with people who are good people. We support people that are good people. I can't tell you how many people, how many creators on the internet that I send $10 a month because I believe in their message. I believe in what they're doing. If my friend starts a business, I support it, because by doing this, we are actually building something, right? I sold my house to get out of debt, right? I lived in Long Island, cushy home, sold my house to get out of debt, moved down south, relocated my family, because when you're not in debt, you can't be controlled as easily. So when your employer says, you have to do this one thing you might not be so comfortable with, otherwise, you're going to get fired and you got to pay that mortgage. Well, now you're in a bad situation. But when you don't have that mortgage, you say, you know what? Let the cards fall where they may, and I know that God will take care of me, and I'll end up in a better situation in the long run because I put personal responsibility first. So that's how we win the future, right? It's all about personal responsibility. It's all about in-group preference because, just think about it. You have these people, right? Everyone's hyper-focused. I don't even watch the news anymore. I don't care. I haven't watched the news in like a year. I could care less. Once I know someone's a liar, why do I want to listen to them? They just lie constantly. But if there are these people out there, right? These so-called elite people, I don't call them that. I refer to them as the controllers, or people who try to control everyone. And they are using their money and their leverage to take over the media, right? And they are using their money and their leverage to take over the schooling system. And they've taken over the social media companies, right? They have Twitter, they have Facebook, they have all of these institutions. They control the banking institutions, right? They buy our politicians. They have all this power, right? Well, if they're doing all that and all we're doing is saying, hey, look what they're doing. Look, they're hypocrites. They know they're hypocrites. Believe me, they know they're hypocrites. They don't care. They're building, right? With everything they do, they're building their power. And we're just, this is how you know if someone's a shill or not, right? And by the way, most of the patriots and the freedom fighters that are on the internet are shills, right? And you know they're a shill because they're the, so this is America people? So this is America? Can you believe they put that on television? I can't believe it. Can you believe they're teaching this to our children in school? But what they're not doing is teaching people how to build. Because if your enemy, the people trying to control you, are building and you're just complaining, who's going to win? You have to build. And we do that by with true wealth, with family, right? We do that by putting family first. We do that by having lots of children. That's what true wealth is. That's what strength is. High trust communities. You have in-group preference. You start your business. You hire your friends. You do business with your friends. You support economically people who put out good messages. You sell your cars and your boat and you live within your means. You live biblically, out of debt. You gain skills. You learn to build things with your hands. You start your own schools. You arm within the law. You arm. You do all of these things. You learn your rights, speaking of the law, right? You learn about common law and how to defend yourself legally, right? And you do all these things, and you are now building. So now you have the people who are trying to control you building their Tower of Babylon, their evil tower. For those of you not familiar with the reference, their tower of control and power, and they're going to, tell us what to do and mandate we get things put in our body, and right, they're building. All right, well, if you're going to build, I'm going to build. And I'm going to build with true wealth, with family, with community, with people, with trust, with critical thinking, with knowledge, with homeschooling, with business, and we'll see where the cards fall at the end. Because as Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. All right, guys, this has been a lot of fun. I will be back tomorrow maybe tomorrow, but definitely on Monday. I got to take my family into town tomorrow, so I'll see if I can get away for 30 minutes. But I'll be doing this every Monday through Friday, except potentially tomorrow. Every Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. This is my new stream time. I look forward to getting to know you all. Inbox me if you have any questions. If you want to support me and what I do in spreading homeschooling and making children's books, right? Because all that money gets reinvested into my children's books. It gets reinvested into my homeschool platform. You could go to the link in my profile. It's $15 a month to join Homeschools Connected. It's a great value. And if you use the promotion code CONNECT, CONNECT, it's $10 a month. And I never raise the price on anyone. Guys, this has been a blast. And I look forward to streaming either tomorrow or Monday and getting to know all of you even better. If there's anything you want me to stream about, also inbox me and say, hey, I'd love if you covered this topic because I need ideas. The promotion code is CONNECT, CONNECT. Yes, I am when you are. All right, later, guys. God bless.